Cool. Hi, everyone. So thanks for joining our Pathways to Tech event for students there. I'm sure others will continue to join us, but we will make a start. Okay. So as you all know, this is a Tech Week event, and it's one of around 400 events. So running this week, many of them are online, including Techweek TV. Just check out the Techweek website if you'd like to see what is happening. And this particular event is brought to you by Canterbury Tech. So that's as we're a local industry association that aims to inspire, connect, grow. And there's many technology employers around that are members. And we are recording this event. So if you have to drop off early and you want to watch it later or share it, please look out for the link to YouTube in the next few days. And my name is Chanya. My background is in tech marketing. I've recently joined Virtual Medical Coaching as marketing lead. We're a software company specializing in using virtual reality to train and educate health professionals at universities and hospitals. I have also been working closely with Canterbury Tech and the University of Canterbury to help bridge the gap between education and industry for several years. So in today's events, we're going to run through an order of 3 speakers, young professionals who work in the tech industry. And we'll be talking about why the technology industry is attractive and applicable to a large number of people and interests from different disciplines. We will hear from, after we hear from the 3 professionals, we'll have some Q&A time at the end, and the Zoom chat will be open throughout for questions, so you can just type them out as you think of them. Cool. So the tech sector is growing rapidly, and even more so after COVID. It is currently the 3rd largest exporter in New Zealand after dairy and tourism. Having tech skills and experience are also in strong demand globally. While COVID has unfortunately negatively impacted a number of different industries, the tech sector has grown even more rapidly through the pandemic, and part of this could be because we're able to run relatively smoothly with the ability to work from home, and so we're not as impacted compared to other industries. As well as the growing demand, the salary also matches this need for people in this industry. So the salary in tech is rising, and the average pay is much higher than the median wage for New Zealand. If you'd like to, you can check out the Canterbury Tech website for some of the tech employers around, and as of today alone, there's over 350 advertised jobs on Seek on just for Canterbury. So that is quite a lot in demand there. We also hope to have an online ecosystem map up and running in a couple of months or so that will give you a more complete picture. And some of our amazing tech employers are represented today by our 3 speakers and myself. There are some misconceptions that the tech roles are only coding or software based. While that is true that there's a lot of software developers and technical roles, we also have a lot less technical roles in the industry, such as project management, marketing, human resources, and sales. And technology is being adopted rapidly and in all types of sectors, and it's incredibly broad in all types of environment, including education. As you may notice, technology has been adopted in all ways of working, and so we are expanding and becoming more involved in every type of disciplines. It is not all about computers and machines and bits and bytes. You do work with people at the end of the day. We work in teams to create, implement, support, and use tech products and services. Transferable skills or soft skills are very important. And we have people from all types of different countries and cultures working in the sector, but it is an area that we are trying to continually improve on. We are currently only around 20% of people in this sector are women and only 4% are Maori, but we are wanting more women, Maori, Pacifica immigrants, and neurodiverse people in the sector to increase our diversity and be more open to everyone. So our 3 speakers, we'll start with Rangi, who's a customer tech specialist at Ravensdown. And then we'll move on to Blair Macandrew, who's a general manager of digital platforms at Datacom. And then our last speaker, Sarah Jackson, who's a software engineer at Media Suite. So without further ado, I will pass you on to our first speaker, Rangi.
Sorry, just sharing the screen. Hopefully that's come up now. Hi, so as Chanya said, I'm Rangi Holland. I work for a company called Ravensdown. So I work out of their head office in Hornby. It is attached to our manufacturing plant. So Ravensdown is, basically Ravensdown is a farming company. Our main job is to sell fertilizer, but we also have, we're basically looking at the full nutrient journey on farm. So we have agri managers who go out on farm, we test the soil, we do recommendations so that we can grow crops, grow grass for cows, and basically just make sure that what we're putting on to grow our food is environmentally sustainable and also supplies grows good crops for us. Sorry. We also have spreading trucks and aeroplanes that put that fertilizer on, as well as our own shipping services. So kind of encompass a whole lot of the farming sector. And so I've just got 2 slides basically, and this is on to what I do. So my current job at Ravensdown is a customer technology specialist, which is pretty much a title that lets me do a whole lot of things, a bit of a jack of all trades. I have been at Ravensdown for the last 14 years. I started off in their customer centre, just taking phone calls, taking orders, helping farmers on the phone. Did that for around 5 years before I moved out into the field to do recommendations out on farm. And then the role I'm in currently came up. So what they were looking for to help our tech side and to help build what is Hawkeye, which I'm showing you here, is our farm mapping system that we built online for our customers to use, is so that they needed someone that understood farming, like from being on farm, and also understood all our internal systems that interact with this product. So my job isn't so much about coding and those sorts of things. I don't have to do that. I'm definitely a tech job that doesn't know much about tech. But what I do is work with the developers to make sure that we can build the things that we need. So a lot of my job is about communication and writing stories up so that what we envision in our heads, our UI designers, so people that decide what things look like, can then work with the developers to build what we want from there. So my main job at the moment is actually just working with our farm mapping system, but we are currently building in some nitrogen reporting, so around the fertilizer that gets applied on farm. There is a rule for all our dairy farmers that is coming up where they will have to report on their nitrogen fertilizer that's been on farm. So I've been working at the moment just building reports into the system so that they can do everything smoothly, which from a farming background, from the farming sector, there is more and more compliance coming in. And if you do watch the news and things, there's lots of things coming up that farmers need to do to make sure we are keeping everything well for the environment. So we're from Ravensdown side, we have to do a lot more tech building to make sure that our farmers can keep compliant and we can keep our crops and things growing. And I think that's basically me. So my day-to-day job basically just revolves around writing stories, updating our web pages. I do a lot of training and support from our end, going off and presenting to things like people like council and other industry players, so we can make sure everything is all on the same page from there. And I think that's me from a short share there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that, Sarah. So we'll hear from our second speaker, Blair, if you'd like to share your screen.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
Apologies, I'm losing my voice, so I'm a little bit raspy, but we'll bear with me. So my name's Blair Macandrew. I'm the General Manager for Digital Platforms in New Zealand. So I'll tell you a little bit about who Datacom is and then actually explain what that means. And then I'll take you through a bit of a journey of how I got there and where you can go in your career. So Datacom's actually, it was founded in Christchurch almost 60 years ago now, about 56 years ago. And it's now Australia's largest IT company. So we've got about 9,000 staff across New Zealand, Australia, the Philippines, Singapore. I'm not sure if we're still in America or not, but yeah, we're by far Australia's largest company. And because we've got such a wide breadth of people, means we basically specialize in a lot of areas, and there's not many things in the IT and the marketing sectors that we don't touch on. Specifically, what I do is I work in the digital side of the business. So it's actually less focus on technology, and we focus more on experience. So if you think of Air New Zealand as an example, when your parents might book a flight online, and then they'll have a mobile app. So there's an experience where they're doing something online, then on the mobile app, it's integrated. So as soon as you book a flight online, it already shows up on your app. You go to the airport, you log in, you don't have to get your tickets. When you get to your seat, your name's already there. Your favorite coffee can get delivered to you. There's a nice experience of a online, offline world. So we focus on building those types of experiences across various customers. I thought I'd just make it a little bit different and talk a little bit about the journey of how I got into IT and then some of the challenges. So probably much like many of yourselves, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career. I was actually going to be a farmer, and I enrolled in Telford Farming School. And then right at the last minute, my brother-in-law said, "Hey, you sure with your personality you want to be way out on a farm on your own?" And I kind of said, "No, maybe not." So he kind of convinced me to move more into IT. And I did a Bachelor of Information and Communication Technology, still having absolutely no idea what it was and what I wanted to do with my career. I just thought I'd better study something. But what a degree like that allowed me to do was dabble in various things, from writing code to, pardon me, being a business analyst, understanding project management, understanding digital strategy. Let me touch enough on lots of little things to figure out maybe where I wanted to go with my career, so that when I finished my studies, I didn't have to jump onto Seek and go, "Oh, what's a developer role?" I could look at other avenues that I wanted to go after. Well, not there's anything wrong with going after the developer role. It just wasn't suited for me. So on that, maybe you want to be a developer, maybe you want to build games, maybe you want to be a business analyst or a project manager or a strategist, or maybe you're like me, you just have absolutely no idea. In that instance, I just went for it and started a job and let my journey or my career just organically happen. I just wanted to talk through a bit of a diagram like this so you can see how the ebbs and flows, you can go back and forward to where you want to get to. And without going into too much detail, I started off as an analyst and tried even though I didn't want to be a developer, I thought I'd give it another try. Worked my way into a team leadership role and realized at that stage in my career, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I actually took a backwards step. So it's almost like a demotion because I wanted to realign my career path. So I moved into a business analyst role, which then progressed me to the project manager role that I'd been wanting to get to. So that was a stepping stone. And from there, I was kind of able to move into consultant to delivery management, which took me to Australia and then back to New Zealand as a general manager, running our digital business here. So what a day today looks like for me is all over the show. At the moment, as an example, I've been traveling this week. I'm sitting in a hotel room in Tauranga, and I was in Hamilton this morning and then Auckland earlier in the week. So it can be fun. You get to travel and meet a lot of people. But generally what I do is I oversee the delivery of many of our projects across our customers, engage with our customers, run events such as this and tonight, talk to our customers about what some of their challenges are and how we might be able to fix those with technology, do a lot of sales pitches and presentations and promotions. And then off the back of that, we create commercial contracts. So once we've gone into a customer, we figure out what they want, we go, cool, how much is it going to cost to build this thing? We're going to need to put some sort of contract or agreement together. So putting those together with our team and with our customers. I manage team members in their careers, so making sure they're happy and they're supported and they're going in the right direction, or they want to pivot like I did. I attend too many meetings to the point where it's almost I'm probably not very effective. So that's not such a fun one, but that's part of the job. Overall, I'm sure the business is making money and that we've got a plan for our future work. So the path I've taken is very much working with developers, but not doing the development work. They're the engine for me, essentially. And I think the most important thing is I enjoy my job and I'm challenged. So that's why I'm in this industry. And the reason I enjoy it, I'll touch on now, is no one project or no one customer is the same. So no matter who you go into, they've got different challenges. There might be similarities, but you'll always be kept on your toes. So it keeps you excited and engaged. You get to meet and work with a lot of people. There's a lot of flexibility in the IT industry now, especially with COVID, being able to work from home. So there's a nice finding that hybrid model where you want to come into one office and engage with people and meet new people, but at the same time, that flexibility of working from home, which is really nice in this industry. I take pride and pleasure in knowing I make a difference to a business, whether it's working for a company like Farmlands and developing an e-commerce store. So all of a sudden they've got an online shop and a physical shop, so they get more revenue into their business. So we're making a difference for them. Enjoy meeting people and building relationships. The stability of this industry, knowing that it is a strong growth sector. So there are a lot of roles and a lot of areas that you can go. So it is a nice, stable environment. And the key for me is to remain challenged as well. So I think that was my last slide. Yeah. So hopefully, I know I spoke really quickly there, guys, but hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight. And I think I'll pass over to Sarah.
Hi there, can you all hear me? Awesome. Well, hello, my name is Sarah and I'm a software engineer at MediaSuite. A little bit about myself. I own a bulldog called Boba Fett, and I also own a parrot called Casper, and they're both very naughty. Definitely think about if you want to own animals in your older life, because gosh, they stress me out every day. All right, so how did I actually get into my role in tech? I actually studied humanities at school and did a lot of history and a lot of English, etc. But I actually wanted to be a helicopter pilot. So I went to my careers advisor and I said, I want to be a helicopter pilot. And she said no, because I did history and didn't do calculus. So I thought, okay, well, there go my dreams. So then I applied for law down in Dunedin and I was all geared up to study law. And my dad said to me, Sarah, what are you doing? You're not going to enjoy law. And I was like, okay. So he said, why don't you try out engineering, because you like problem solving. I thought, okay. So I applied for engineering. My careers advisor also said I wouldn't get into engineering because I didn't do calculus. Well, I applied anyway and I got in. So don't worry, you haven't messed up your life if you don't take the right papers towards your final years. You can do whatever you want. So I actually ended up in Christchurch doing engineering, Bachelor of Engineering there. I started out doing civil engineering. It wasn't really for me. So then I tried out chemical and process engineering and did a lot of chemistry. Wasn't really for me. I actually did a programming paper by mistake and was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. So then I changed my entire major over to software engineering and then graduated with my software engineering degree, which was pretty cool. I got to do an internship up at TradeMe in Wellington, which was quite fun. They had a slide from the top floor to the bottom floor. They fed you every day. It was great. And then after uni, my first job I actually landed was at Trimble, and I was helping them build systems for their construction machinery to help guide and automate the machine. It was actually really fun. So I did that for quite a few years, but then I decided I wanted to learn a lot more about web development and building websites. So then I got in touch with Media Suite, and so there has started my journey at Media Suite, and I've been here for the last year. So Media Suite work with a lot of different people. They work with councils, governments, other progressive organizations, generally around sustainability or social progression, pretty much projects that help support the betterment of society. So some projects have included helping coordinate the Christchurch rebuild. Other ones have been providing services to help monitor New Zealand's natural resources. We've worked with animal welfare groups. So pretty much what we do is we go and meet up with someone, they want a project, we see if it's a project we want to work with them on, and then we go, okay, cool, let's build it. So one of those projects we worked on was the Companion Animals website. So Companion Animals NZ, also known as CANS, they represent a lot of animal welfare groups like SPCA, New Zealand Vet Association, etc. They do a lot of publications on animals. They have a scheme to make sure animal behavioralists are actually qualified. And they also have something called the Animal Register, where you can register your animal's microchip. So if they go missing, they can come back home to you. So if you ever see Boba Fett or Casper in your neighborhood, please go to the Animals Register and pop in their microchip for me so I can get her back. She loves to run away, that one. And Casper loves to get stuck up trees and yells at me to try to get him down. It's never a good time. So it's $15 to sign up to the Animal Register, but what is really cool about that is they actually donate it all to other animal welfare groups, so that's awesome. We also worked on another project called Smelt It. So if you live in Christchurch and you live in Bromley or South New Brighton or Wilston, you might notice it's a bit stinky, so because of the wastewater plant burning down. So you can actually log on to Smelt It and log in the smell, and it pretty much tells the Christchurch City Council, hey, can you come and check this out? It has a heat map, so after this presentation, you should go to Smelt It. It's quite funny seeing the heat map around the area of the water plant. So what do I do day to day? Pretty much I show up to work and I just banter with my colleagues, say good morning, hello. We often have some breakfast. We just chill out, have a pretty cool, cruisy start to the day. It's a really great culture here at Media Suite, and we're very much like that, so it's cool. I sit down and I have a look at my tasks for the day. So whatever project I'm working on, it's all broken down into tickets. So, hey, this ticket, can you do this or can you update that? So I will just continue working on the task that I've been given. Every morning we have a daily meeting called a stand up, which is just saying, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is what I might need some help with, just to help us realign. And then I just work on whatever I'm working on. Lunchtime, I'll go for a walk or go to the gym or hang out with some colleagues. And then, yeah, throughout the afternoon, we'll just keep working on whatever I'm working on. And some days are a bit different, like I'm given the afternoon to learn something new if I want, or sometimes we'll have other activities. So my day can change quite a lot. What I probably enjoy the most about being a developer is there's always problems to solve and you're always learning. There are so many different ways to build things. And what's really cool about being a developer is you can essentially work on anything that you want to work on. If you want to work on the health sector, you can be a developer in the health sector. If you want to work on, I guess, things that I was talking about before, like animal welfare, you can work in animal welfare. You can literally do whatever you want, game developing, etc. So I really enjoy the flexibility and all the problems you get to solve as a software developer. And ultimately, I really enjoy working with the people. You are pretty much, if you've ever done an escape room and you have to work with everyone to figure something out, it can feel a bit like that. So you get to work with a lot of cool people, learning a lot of new stuff and just helping build something. Coding and programming is just a means to create something. A lot of people get quite hung up on the programming, but really programming is just a language that you have to learn to pretty much be able to build whatever you want. So that is what I really love about software. And I think that's me. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I will post some questions, but feel free to also pop some questions down in the chat if you guys wanted to ask anyone specific questions or just in general. So my first question is, what are some of the skills that your current organization looks for in new hires?
I'll go really quickly. For me, it's less about your skills and a lot more about your personality and your attitude and your ability to learn. So, you know, there's a saying, you can teach anyone anything if they've got the right attitude. So for us, that's a big part of what we look for.
Communication is a big one. So just building on what's been said, you're working with other people, you're trying to build something. Like was just said, you can be taught the skills. So essentially, as long as you're communicating, you have the can-do attitude, that's more valued than being super amazing at programming or anything like that.
And I would just agree, it's definitely a communication thing. It's probably remembering when you're sending CVs that your cover letter is probably more important. So getting yourself across.
Like when you work in tech, you're not thrown into the corner away from everyone else. It's very chatty, very collaborative.
Yeah, and I agree with all your points as well. I think as a student, something that you kind of get hung up over a lot is like, oh, my grades aren't great and things like that. And it's very much, you know, you think about your grades a lot, but it's definitely not just that. Yeah. And I think I've had experiences where it almost goes the opposite. Like if you have amazing grades, they're like, oh, are you friendly? Yeah, but it definitely, yeah, a lot more than just what's on paper for sure. My next question is, what advice would you give our audience as they complete their education and if they're considering getting into the tech workforce?
Don't sweat it too much and don't put too much pressure on yourself, honestly. Just relax, have a good time. Of course, studying and learning everything matters, but don't get super tied up or super stressed out doing a lot of it. The tech sector is pretty relaxed. It's very supportive. And often I find you can set pretty high expectations of yourself.
Yeah, and I think I'd agree with that. Don't overthink it. It's like that period of your life is nice to study, and it's you should enjoy it and not get too stressed, and don't worry about your grades. I was terrible at university.
So was I.
barely made it through. So yeah, don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I mean, I went to uni and did maths and economics, and that is not what I do now. It doesn't really, you know, if you change your mind, you change your mind when you get there. And the job you might, by the time you get through uni, the job you might want might still not exist yet. Like the job I do now didn't exist 10 years ago when I started here. So
highly likely. And you don't actually have to go into IT either. You might finish your IT degree and realize you don't like it. That the importance is with something like that, you've a big part of it, finishing a bachelor, is you've proved that you've got the commitment to go and follow something through. So you might come out and go, I'm done with IT. You can go down any other career path.
Exactly. And you also don't have to jump straight into study after high school. And if you're wanting to get into IT, particularly if you want to get into developing, there's lots of different ways. There are quite a lot of developers that are fully self-taught and don't have a degree. There are some that go through a Bachelor of Computer Science, some that go through engineering. And there are also boot camps that you can get done within 4 months, but they are incredibly intensive. So there is so many different ways to actually walk on in. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think I kind of agree with those points. When I was, you know, studying, I definitely picked a bunch of subjects because I didn't really know what I enjoyed. And compared to high school, you don't really get to exactly just choose, you know, 5 different subjects. It's kind of like, well, what are you majoring in? And everything's towards that. And I just couldn't make up my mind, and I switched here and there quite a lot. But at the end of the day, I ended up doing psychology and IT, which was applicable to every workforce. You're going to need some people skills. You're going to need some technology skills. We have a question from Samuel. What subjects are beneficial for these kind of careers?
For developing, probably maths, but it's not you have to be good at maths, just maths kind of helps you start to learn how to step through problems. Pretty much just anything that helps you problem solve. So generally maths, physics, that can really help with that. But honestly, I've met a lot of developers. A developer was completely self-taught. He was into boat building. Other developers I've met, they were artists and into painting. So yeah, there are a lot of topics that can help, but really it's just a way of thinking and problem solving. So any subject that supports that, you'll be fine.
Any other inputs there, Blair and Rangi, or just agree?
I can't add. I can't think of any specific subject at school that would have to help me now. It's just a combination of all of them. But as Sarah said, I think a lot of, if you're wanting to go down that development side of the world, it is generally a mathematical mind or someone that likes to solve problems. So yeah, aligning with that type of thing.
Yeah, I agree with Neil. Do subjects you enjoy. 100%, 100%. And sometimes if you want to learn how to learn another language, for instance, that's actually very helpful. I kind of describe programming to people. It is like a language. You have to learn the grammar, you have to learn the syntax, and then you have to learn how to use it. If I just walked up to someone who didn't know how to speak any English and I said, hey, can you write me a speech, please? They'll be like, oh my gosh, like, because they have to learn so many rules and everything around it. So programming is literally just learning a language. And then after you kind of learn that, that's when you're able to start problem solving. So just anything that cultivates that sort of thought.
I'd probably just add a note on that you will keep learning too. Like I've done a grad diploma at this job. I have been through a million courses because things change. Like what you learned in high school, what you learn in university, everything's constantly changing, especially in tech. So just assume that you will keep learning new things all the time.
100%. It keeps changing. It doesn't stop. And if you do get into programming, honestly, don't give up. The learning curve can feel pretty steep and you're not stupid. Sometimes when your program doesn't work, you're like, oh no, I'm not cut out for this, but you don't know what you don't know. I think if you're kind of coming into tech, you really need to come in with that kind of attitude of I'm here to learn, because no one comes into it knowing what they're doing. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about, you know, developing and things. I mean, in my current role, I do some basic programming, but most of the time, the major of my job requires using the softwares, and that's the what, you know, just learning how to pick up softwares really quickly, which I'm sure most of the, you know, younger students would have right to minds, and they're kind of grew up in the environment, so it's probably much easier to pick some things up.
Even some really cool roles within technology is actually the website design. If you're a developer, sometimes you're actually not a very good designer, so you get to design entire layouts. Sometimes you're very into the user experience. How is someone going to interact with this and all their pathways? Then you get to go out and do very cool studies with big groups of people of, oh, how are they actually going to use this? So super diverse.
Yeah, there are a lot of applications out there that you get familiar with when you're in the industry, but a lot of people outside might not be aware of. But basically there's a lot of apps that would help you look at how users are using your application or website, and looking at, let's say, for example, what sections they're most focused on and what parts needs to be improved. There's your work just keeps changing depending on the technology that comes up, basically. A really interesting question from Tim there. What do you see as some of the barriers having more diverse tech sector? And that might be a new question, maybe.
I'm sitting in the background. I'm Neil from Canterbury Tech. I can tell you a lot of work is going on in this area at the moment. We really do want to have more women and Pacifica and Maori and people from diverse cultural backgrounds in the sector. We do to some extent, but we've got a lot of work to do. And also I can tell you that we locally in Canterbury are working on a program to bring more neurodiverse people into the sector as well, meaning dyslexic, autistic, and others. So, Chanya, you put me on screen. Very naughty.
I can touch on this as well. Diversification is very important to Datacom. So one of the ways we are trying to resolve this is we're creating key partnerships. So we've recently initiated a partnership with Ngāi Tahu, so we can look at how we can get more Māori into the IT sector. If there's only 4%, how can we encourage and get more iwi involved in our business? So having a partnership like that, what we can do is when we have new projects, we can reach out and get local iwi and bring them in as graduates and actually cultivate their career and move them up to where they want to be. So that's one of the ways we're looking to do it from our end as well.
Speaking just purely from my experience as well, I was quite involved in Women in Tech Society and doing outreach events and stuff like that. For me, I found one of the biggest barriers doing my degree and coming into software, and it has gone a lot better. You kind of felt like you had to be a real turbo nerd. Like, I know that sounds really awful putting it like that, but you just felt like you had to be very geeky and very into computers and super into this and into that. Whereas I'm not really like that at all. Like, I like going out surfing and going out on my motorbikes and stuff like that. There's no way I feel that inclined. And that was a huge barrier. And we found that we were doing women in tech groups and we were having big conversations of things that we found. We all felt that we had to fit some sort of hacker man stereotype that sat in the corner, and that is just so far from the truth. And that's actually what has deterred and been a barrier for many people. You just feel like you have to be this very clever. There's nothing wrong with being credible at math, like not at all, but there was kind of the stereotype that you had to be that way inclined. So I would say that that was quite a big barrier, and trying to like reframe stereotypes in tech, that has been quite a barrier.
I'd say, funny enough, our team is probably the most diverse team in Ravensdown in terms of people that are in tech, the amount of females that are there, different sexualities and things like that. But across the company, we've still got a very much, with farming, it's very much a white man's, which is a terrible way to say it. But, you know, that's what our work is still actually working on too, is how do we get it more diverse so we have more women at upper level management, and as well as in our standard IT team rather than our digital team. But it's definitely getting better. It's better than when I started.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think in
an
my
uphill battle.
In my first role out of graduation, I remember I was an intern and I walked in, and the company was just full of like older guys, and it did feel really scary. Just like, do I fit in here? But over the years, definitely met a lot more, you know, similar people with age and gender and all. Yeah.
And if you do find yourself in that situation where you're starting a company and it just feels very of a type of person and you feel quite like the minority, hopefully they're actually wanting that to change. And generally, if you're being hired for that, they're actively trying to make it change. But if you ever feel a bit like an outlier at a workplace you ever end up with, leave. Don't hang around. There are places out there that will absolutely value you and really want you on board. And it is definitely changing. It is becoming so much more inclusive.
Cool, thank you very much. Yep, just a thanks from Tim as well, and from us and everyone who's joined today. I think we will wrap it up here. As we mentioned, a recording will be available in the next few days, and would love it if you guys keep in touch with, you know, the Canterbury tech sector. And that is all today. Thank you.